The way that our male journalists do the stories is more focused on her husband or her family life or what she does for a job rather than just her athletic pursuit. That's the difference in the way that male versus female journalists cover female sport.
Kia ora. Welcome to WiSP Radio New Zealand. I'm Zoe George.
And I'm Sophie Devine.
And we're at the RNZ studios in Wellington, New Zealand. For those who are new to this podcast, we are a monthly podcast bringing you news and views from women in sport, from athletes and results to issues and academics with a uniquely Kiwi perspective.
You can find us at wispsports.com or on Facebook or Twitter at wispsports, at producer_Zoe and at Sophie Devine 77.
Today, a plethora of stories. First up, we speak with top sports journalist Melodie Robinson on forming the W Group. What is it? Why do we need it? And what do they hope to achieve? Then, Sophie, our favourite topic.
Yes!
Cricket. The White Ferns World Cup team's been selected today, and we find out who's in, and the prize money's been increased. What does that mean? Then we go headfirst into mental illness in rugby. Black Ferns Sevens player Ruby Tui joins us straight out of practice to talk about being a spokesperson for mental health in the sport she loves. We also have a few quick hits, including basketball sponsorship, netball and toilets at sporting venues. Yes, really. But before we head into our first guest and speak with Mel Robinson, today's been a big day for you, hasn't it,
Today's
Sophie?
been a long day. There's been some long days lately. Obviously, World Cup build-up is full on, so I've been training every day pretty much, sometimes twice a day, just to get everything in. So it's been full on, but you need every little bit of time to put into that cricket.
And at 11 o'clock today, the White Ferns World Cup team was announced, among them you. So, yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, look, it's always an honour to be named the New Zealand side, and the fact that we're representing our country at a World Cup's just massive. So, look, really humbled to be a part of that and just so excited to be going away. And, we're a great chance at this World Cup, so I'm sure we'll talk about it a bit later. But, yeah, look, I just can't wait to get over there and get stuck in.
And last time we saw you, you had a broken thumb and was in a cast. How's it looking?
Yeah, it's heaps better now. We've gotten rid of the cast, which is nice, and I'd say pretty much back to 100%. It's taken a while. Not that I've been counting, but it's been nearly 4 months.
Wow.
So it's definitely taken its time, but we're nearly there.
And rehabbing that, did you have to go from catching soft cricket balls again to hard, or were you just straight into it?
Well, yeah, I was. I tried to go straight into the cricket balls, and I got a bit of a telling off from our team physio, so it was back to the tennis balls and then the soft sort of squidgy and creddy balls, and then onto the hard cricket balls. But it's been playing around actually with sort of different types of splints and protective wear and things, because obviously a few rules around what you can wear and what you can't wear, so been playing around with that.
One of my favourite topics other than cricket is media coverage, and it's an issue that we talk about a lot here at WiSP Radio New Zealand. Melodie Robinson is a familiar face to sport fans in New Zealand. Any given weekend, the former Black Fern can be found in front of the camera, fronting coverage of rugby. Men's rugby. She along with fellow sports journalist Rikki Swannell, who's also been a guest on this podcast previously, have created the W Group. It's a group of people who want to empower women in sport and media to achieve their goals. And she's on the line. Hello, are you there, Mel?
Hey, yes I am. I'm at university, so you caught me just before my lecture, which is perfect.
Fantastic. What are you studying at the moment?
I'm doing business admin, just to give myself some skills outside being a sports journalist, and trying to protect my career because I'm an old lady now and I won't be on the telly for that much longer.
Do we want to talk about being a woman on television, especially when it comes to sports media?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's a great career. I've had some amazing experiences and moments, and it's been fantastic. And I think that there's a real appetite for a lot more women to be doing what Rikki's doing, what I'm doing. And there's a myriad of actual different jobs and roles in there that normal women don't know about. So often they don't make that career choice. So we're just trying to encourage more women to get into the industry so that then what we see reflected in the newspapers, online or on television actually represents not just a male audience, but a female audience as well.
Traditionally, sports media has been a male pursuit. How do we change that mentality to get more women involved?
There's a desire for it to change anyway, because I think there's a lot of research around, for instance, that businesses generally, with more diversity, more women involved, actually have more profit. So there's EP Young research that showed, I think it was 30% women in your executive board improves your profits by 15%. That's across 83 countries. So from the top level, there's a real acknowledgement that women in management are really important. And then when it comes to sports media and that industry, well, women's sports getting more coverage, and there's a bigger audience, which is mums, dads. Women support Super Rugby, actually. If you look at the fan base done in 2015, most of the fan base was 49% women and 51% men. In fact, the Chiefs were 51% women, so more women supported that Super Rugby franchise than anybody else. If you want your coverage to remain relevant, particularly if you like Sky Television or your TVNZ or whoever trying to get eyes on your screen, then you have to make sure that what you're putting out there has different voices and different managers putting their input in so it represents everybody.
There are specific issues that face women in sport: sexism, unconscious bias, the notion of traditional gender roles, and let's not even mention trolls that attack female sports journalists. How are we changing this mentality? And it still exists, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, the trolls is a difficult one because that's actually a societal thing brought on with social media. So it's really difficult. But one way the ESPN have tried to tackle that is they did an incredible campaign called Mean Tweets with two of their female broadcasters, and they got all of a couple of normal guys in just to read the tweets, and the tweets were so disgusting. It was the most really poignant and dramatic story I've seen that's gone out and just received a whole lot of people saying this is not right. So those kind of things work. In terms of unconscious bias, I constantly just say to the guys that I work with and my bosses and that, for instance, if they say, look, we've got this girl doing this, I always say, that's absolutely fantastic, just make sure you support them because it's a tough environment for a girl. And they go, no, what do you mean it's all changed? Well, it has changed in a number of ways, but they don't necessarily the training yet to be robust or to get out there and perform like a guy that might have played, say, 20 years of rugby or something. So it's very difficult to step into there. There's a lot of males that still do it, so you can get socially isolated as well. And I don't think people think about that when a young woman comes on board to work in sport media. So they're just little things. I just do it subtly and nicely because there's no point kicking over buckets and throwing around chairs, is there? It won't work that way.
No, that's true. I mean, you would get attention if you were to do that, but there are other ways of doing it. By putting women into sports newsrooms, will we get more coverage of female athletes?
I believe so. No one's done any research on that as yet. But once again, if you look to America, ESPNW is an online channel which also does documentaries for ESPN2 completely on women's sports, and also there are stories which are geared for women to enjoy. So they've done research that shows that women like different things in their sports coverage. They like to have the rules explained more. They like to hear the stories about the team or the player that they're interested in. They're not interested in the statistics as much. So they've changed the way that they cover sport to take in the female perspective, and that was all from one female who was constantly in the CEO or the top dog from ESPN just saying, we need to do this, and he said to her, okay, here's $6 million, go for it. So
it'd be nice if someone gave us $6 million to go and do something like that. It'd be great.
I know, but I think more of us, on this end is definitely going to change. I mean, I lobbied for women's NPC for a long time, and that's on there now regularly. So, it's not from me, but it's me plus a whole lot of other people in there who are fans, and not just women either, it's also men that champion women's sport.
Yes, we also need men to do that too, don't we? So at the moment, sports newsrooms are populated predominantly by men. Are they covering women's sport?
Well, after last year's Olympics, when we had more female athletes than men, the coverage was excellent. Obviously because our females are so successful as well. The Commonwealth Games or the Olympics before that, the issue was more prevalent, but what it is the way that our male journalists do the stories is more focused on her husband or her family life or what she does for a job rather than just her athletic pursuits. So that's the difference in the way that male versus female journalists cover female sport. And it's actually a campaign that New Zealand Olympic Committee is going around and really trying to change that and just bring it to people's notice to say, hey, look, you don't actually have to talk about, what she's wearing. It's actually what she's doing.
Yes, I think a couple of really good stories that have come out recently that show that the fact that when Serena Williams announced her pregnancy, it was leading sports news. I was like, yeah, women have babies and... Am I wrong? I don't know.
I know. It's hilarious, isn't it? I don't think, they certainly, if it was a male athlete, they wouldn't cover the story like that. I'm sure if it was a top male athlete, it would be a story, but it just wouldn't be absolutely everywhere like it was with Serena.
Yes.
And then, of course, there'll be comments about her body as well, which is, another one of those things that happens.
And I think the same is going to happen to Valerie as well, who announced her pregnancy recently too. What about the language that we use when we talk about women in sport? What are you finding?
Look, I do. I think New Zealand is reasonably good. I really do. I think that we have got a culture which is pretty equal, really, between men and women. So it's reasonably good. I think that there's different types of language used in different environments, and that's when you can start to hear probably different conversations from men about female athletes. So it might be in a pub or it might be in a sports club. And
locker rooms.
Yeah. They talk about looks and bodies, I would say, definitely a lot. But then I also notice looks and bodies too on both female and male athletes. So, it's you win your battles that you can, and the ones that we would love to influence is getting more diverse women in sport media as well, because we have a lot of Pacific Island, Māori athletes around, and we don't have very many of them represented in sport media who are females. But also we have a large group of females, say, involved in production who are in certain types of jobs, and we want to see them elevated up the corporate ladder as well. So they're the kind of things that we're trying to get done rather than, eventually I'm sure that conversation might change and there will be more coverage of women's sport in a better way. But at the moment, these are things that we can tackle right now.
Yeah, so the goals I see for the W Group: connecting women in sport media and business, celebrating the women in sport media and in sport, developing female leaders, discovering and training new talent, which I think is a fantastic idea. And I would love to see internships for women in sports newsrooms, advocating for women in sport media and inspiring girls.
There are actually internships around, but young ladies are not necessarily taking them as much. But there's certainly not as much training in the industry as there used to be, and I think that is the key part. And the celebrating part is so important because, I had a coffee with Julie Christie the other day, and I forgot that she was, EP of Sport TVNZ is in her late 20s. To people like her, we should say, wow, she broke some stereotypes back then. And the same with April Eremia and Bernadine Olive Kirby. Those two were sports presenters and journalists way before anybody else. So it's those kind of people we want to celebrate because no one really has before and talked about it.
Absolutely. Oh, well, I wish you all the best with the W Group, which I have to disclose I am a member of. But I think it's important that we as sports journalists, full stop, whether or not you are male, female, or however you identify, that we support each other and we support sport in New Zealand, because it is part of our identity. It's part of our national identity.
It's a game changer. It changes people's lives, and that's the other reason I'm passionate about it too. So, yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you so much. Go on, you better run off to your business lecture. It's been lovely chatting, and we look forward to talking to you again in the future about the development and how the W Group is going.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mel Robinson talking about the W Group, women in sport. Sophie, have you had that where, you are an elite athlete and you've done something incredible on the field and yet they just want to talk about you off the field?
Probably not too bad. They do definitely focus a lot more on our lifestyle and sort of things that happen off the pitch.
Right.
Wanting a bit more of that background information, and whether that's because we're more interesting than the men because we do have lives out. Not saying that all men don't have lives outside of their cricket jobs, but I think about our White Ferns team. We've got 2 police officers, we've got teachers, we've got vet assistants. We are normal females, Kiwi females that are out there in the workforce who happen to also play cricket for their country. So, yeah, I think it is a hard balance because, we do play cricket, but we also do have a life off it. So getting, both the cricket player and the person behind it as well.
We are going to move on to cricket now, and money is an issue that let's talk about right now. Women in New Zealand are not paid to be professional, are they?
No, not solely off their New Zealand cricket contracts, no.
But other countries are. So Australia, England, they are paid professional wages, is that correct?
Yeah.
And we're talking some players are getting paid upwards of 100,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is more than what domestic men in New Zealand earn.
Yeah, it is. And to be fair, Australia and England are streets ahead in terms of the money that they're putting in, the resources they're putting into the women's game. And that's not to say that New Zealand cricket isn't supporting the women's game. It's just at a start though, so I think there's a long way to go yet, but we're on the stepping ball, which I think is really important. we've been offered the contracts that's been increased over the last couple of years from 10 to 15, which is a massive step. I guess the next movement forward is to sort of hopefully increase the monetary value of them.
There's also been an increase for the prize money for the upcoming World Cup, which we'll talk about very soon. But first, White Ferns squad for the ICC Women's World Cup was announced today. It's a very experienced team with 12 of the 15 attending last year's T20 in India. 6 have more than 50 ODIs to their name. Susie Bates has 98, Amy Satterthwaite 95, and Sophie, you've got 80.
I'm an old fart.
You're one of the leaders in the group. Amongst the ranks, new players, Wellington High School student that everyone's talking about, Amelia Kerr, 16 years old. 16, incredible. And also 21-year-old right arm bat and bowler Thamsyn Newton, who has played 8. And Thamsyn is on the line now. Hello, Thamsyn. Thanks so much and congratulations on your selection for the World Cup.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Were you surprised by your selection?
Look, I think it's always a privilege being able to represent your country in any sport. But, I've been around the team for a couple of years and putting in a lot of hard work. So it's nice to have it all paying off through that selection.
It was, you guys have been in camp, is that right, Sophie?
Yep.
And it was 19 to 15, is that correct?
Yeah.
That would have been a bit devastating for those 4 that had came so close yet so far.
Yeah, look, it's always tough. It's the sucky part of the sport, and I guess that's where I'm glad I'm not a coach or a selector that has to make those final choices. But, without those other 4 girls, we wouldn't have the team, we wouldn't have the competition. We don't push ourselves as hard if we don't have those competition for spots. So I think, and it's not just them, it's the girls back in our domestic teams as well. It's the young girls coming through. It really is a massive system of girls that are there playing, pushing each other further. That is going to hopefully, help bring that cup home.
Thamsyn, are you told how close you come to making that cut?
No, not at all. I think it's just about being able to push yourself, and as Sophie said, having those 4 other girls there to really push you for your spot. You've got to challenge yourself and bring out the best that you can be in order to help you push for that spot in the team.
Well, yeah, it's about stepping up your game, isn't it? Because every spot is contestable. No one's safe, are they?
No, I know our coach Hades talks a lot about the 11 that are selected are the lucky 11 that get to step onto the field, because it's taken every one of those 19 players in that squad to get to that point. It just so happens that on that day it's those 11 players that get to take the field and represent the country, represent each other. So we are very aware of, I guess, how important it is and how humbling it is to be representing not just, I guess, the other players in the squad and the management staff, but obviously everyone back at home, the country, your family and friends. There's a massive, I guess, swarm of people that go into it.
And we haven't won a World Cup for quite a few years. I know, I'm sorry, Sophie, that I have to bring it up, but we've been in the finals before, and it has come down to the last ball. Can we do it this year?
Yeah, look, I've got a huge amount of confidence in this group. It's a fantastic balance to the side. I think you talked about the experience, but there's also the youth in the side as well. Tam's one of them, Hannah Rowe, Amelia Kerr. You don't get much younger than 16. So, look, I think we've got a great balance, and with our old heads there as well. But these young ones bring that excitement. That it sort of does take you back to your debut year. When you're fizzing to get out there and train and things. So, it is a great balance, and we're going to have to rely on that experience because we have been in tough pressure situations, and it's hard to practice that. I mean, if we're being honest, it's hard to replicate facing the last ball of a World Cup final. I mean, unless you've been there and done it, it is really hard. So I think we're going to have to call on all the players throughout the tournament. I think that's what's so great is any one of those 15 players can stand up at any stage of the World Cup.
Thamsyn, what's going to be the biggest challenge for you going into this World Cup?
I think for me personally, I've been around the team for a couple of years now, but I think for my own self is actually breaking into that 11. Eight matches to my name, and Susie Bates 98. Like, there's a big difference there.
There is, but Susie is the captain, and that's it's kind of expected.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, just breaking into that 11 is probably going to be the biggest challenge for me.
And what about like that internal battle as well? I mean, you are part of the 15, and getting into that 11 it messes with your head sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah, it can be really tough. I mean, I know Tam's been through it. I've been through it. Every one of those players have been through it where, you'll get left out of a squad or your form might dip or there's all sorts of things that can happen. But I guess it is all about that drive and wanting to be better and wanting to be performing for your spot in that team. So it can be pretty tough at times.
Going into the World Cup, you've got your coaches. Who else do you have? Do you have support team physio? Do you have a mental skills coach that travel with you as well? Yeah,
we've been really lucky actually. The last sort of 2 years we've worked with a guy called Jason Brennan, who was based here in Wellington. He's worked a lot with the Hurricanes, so he's obviously doing something right because they're Super Rugby champions.
Yes.
Woohoo, plug that. We've been working a lot with him, and it's been great because the girls have sort of found different ways to work with him. We're obviously not all the same, so he can't just go out and plaster something and hope that we will adapt it. But we've got a mental skills trainer. We've got 3 coaches. We've obviously got head coach Haiti Tiff, and then we've got 2 assistant coaches. Video analysis, John Furlong, who also backs up as a bowling coach too. We're very lucky to be taking our trainer, our strength and conditioning trainer, along with us, which is a massive plus for us because usually budget doesn't allow to have a trainer with us, so that's going to be massive. I mean, the tournament's over 6 weeks, so it is a long time to make sure physically we're prepared for that. And obviously, manager and physio is probably the most important person besides the coach.
The men's teams fly business class. Will you be doing the same?
Yes, we will be. This is probably one of the most exciting things ever. And Tam, you agree with me, won't you?
Oh, yeah, I cannot wait.
We've been having discussions even at camp about, do you enjoy the lying down of sleeping in a plane or do you enjoy the food that's on offer and things like that. So there's a few internal battles going on there as to what we would do. But look, ICC have stepped up to the plate and it's fantastic. I think after the World Cup last year, there was a lot of media around the fact that men flew business and the women didn't. We were in cattle class. So look, credit to them, they've stepped up, and it is just the beginning. I think that there's equality in that. We see also pay increase in terms of the prize money, which is fantastic. So, yeah, look, we're going to have to remember to actually go to the left of the plane when we get in that front door rather than going back to by the toilets in the row 56. So it should be good.
No, it'll be great. Thamsyn, we have been talking about the experience and the youth. There are 4 kind of main leaders, with Sophie being one of them. Who do you look up to and who's your mentor within the team?
Come on, Thamsyn, like we practiced.
Well, I mean, yeah, look, I get to see some of the best players in the world as often as I do, and they are just, you pick their brain and you can learn so much from them. But I think coming into the team, I was probably more of a bowling all-rounder who could maybe swing the bat a little bit. But being able to work with the likes of Amy Satterthwaite and Katie Martin, they've probably helped me develop as a player a lot, and my skill development has gone up so much because of them. And Amy is an absolute cricket nut, so she loves having her brain being picked about anything cricket related. So there's just so many of them to look up to, and you just learn by watching them as well. You don't always need to ask questions and things like that. But no, there's so many mentors in that team who have actually helped me become the player that I am today.
And there's actually only one person involved in the team that has experienced a World Cup win, and that is your coach. So I guess both of you will be drawing on her experience too.
Yeah, look, I think that's a massive bonus for us, is to have a coach that's been involved in the pressures of a World Cup and have won, which male or female we haven't done very often. So look, we're extremely lucky to have Haiti on board, and she's been talking us a lot about her experiences. It was a fair while ago, back in 2000, at Lincoln down in Christchurch.
I remember watching it.
Same here.
Oh, it was fantastic.
I took a day off school.
I was so excited. My mum's Australian, so she was cheering and I was cheering.
Jeez.
But not Australia. It was great.
So, that's been great. She's been sort of plugging us about how hard she worked. I think that's the thing that really sticks out for me.
And they weren't professional back then either. They went, we're not really, we have a professional mentality, but we're not paid to be professionals. Before I let you go, Thamsyn, prize money. This is exciting. ICC have doubled the Women Cricket World Cup prize money to $2 million. They announced last year that it was going to be $1 million, but before that it was only like $300,000. Is this a bit of a little bit of a carrot for you guys as well, or not really? Does the money not matter?
Growing up playing women's cricket, you played it because you loved it. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about making a career. You played it because you simply loved it. And while it is nice, it's probably not a massive focus point for me personally, but it's about the people who have got you to where you are now and making them proud. While at the same time it's awesome to see big organisations actually paying attention and really getting involved in it. But it's also important not to get carried away with it and not purely think about it like that, which is hard. But I think it all comes down to playing it because you love it.
Absolutely. Oh, well, Thamsyn Newton, best of luck for the World Cup. We'll be watching. It starts on June the 24th, and I think you guys are playing Sri Lanka first in Bristol. You're heading over next week?
Yep, heading over a bit earlier.
And are you playing a bit of club cricket?
Yeah, a bit of county stuff before the girls come over for a 10-day training camp in Hampshire, which should be good fun.
Well, we wish you all the very best, and I look forward to seeing how you go. Thanks so much for your time, Thamsyn Newton.
Awesome. Thanks very much, sis.
Let's go back to this ICC prize money. I just want to touch on it very, very briefly again. So not only have they increased the prize money, but 10 matches are to be broadcast on TV, with every other match being live streamed, and more Hawkeye cameras are going to be put in so that we can analyse the game. This is a big deal for women's cricket, Sophie.
This is huge. This is massive. And I actually learnt just down at the camp there was actually David White and the NZC staff that took it to the IC about streaming these other games, because they were just going to leave it at the 10 televised matches, and they went in with Cricket Australia and said, look, we need to get this game out there however we can. And we've seen with the Women's Big Bash how well it works being streamed. The numbers they got for that were phenomenal. And even with the White Ferns games that were streamed against Australia earlier in the year, the Rose Bowl matches, fantastic feedback around how many people tuned in to watch the streamed matches of that. So look, that's a massive plus for us, just to be able to be seen on computer screens or TV screens. And it actually brings a few challenges for us with the DRS system, which is, I guess, used to review any, howlers we call them, any, I guess, rough calls. So we've been practicing that as well. But it's really exciting that we're going to go to that depth, I guess, of analysis in the women's game, which is great.
Yeah, Australia Cricket have come out and said that this is a massive turning point for women in cricket and in sport in general. And a statement from, which was on the ABC website from Cricket Australia, said that Cricket Australia is also pleased the ICC is working towards total prize money parity with the men's game within 15 years. Which is really great. And in actual fact, Cricket Australia has committed to ensuring that prize money for the Women's ICC World T20 in 2020 will be the same as the men's game as well. And they will make up the difference between the two prize pools.
Yeah, look, it's a massive commitment by Cricket Australia, and it's fantastic to see. I mean, they've committed to that, which is huge. I mean, going from 2 million to 6 million, that's massive. And I mean, there's a lot happening over in Cricket Australia at the moment, obviously with the MOU and debates going on between players and Cricket Australia. But look, at the end of the day, they're just wanting to, I guess, gender equality, pay parity. They're wanting to really put it out there and make their mark, which is great.
Yeah. You just said the word equality, and I just wanted to touch on this. Edmonton Oilers converted 2 women's restrooms into men's bathrooms during the Stanley Cup playoff. I know it's not New Zealand, but I had to talk about this. A professor, Catherine Anthony, a professor and author of books such as Defined by Design, which discuss gender bias in architecture, said that it's unfair and it makes women feel unwelcome. But the Oiler general manager, who is a woman, Susan Darrington, told Global News that you'll never make everyone happy.
This is ridiculous.
What are your thoughts on this, Sophie?
I just can't understand it. Why would you on earth take out women's loos? I mean, it just doesn't make... I was doing a bit of reading as well through here, and it's sort of saying that actually for every one male toilet you need 3 women's.
That's right.
To get through, obviously time taken and things like that.
Women were waiting up to half an hour to use the bathroom. But actually it also comes down to a biological thing as well.
Yeah.
That needs to be factored in. And they've been calling it potty parity, and it shouldn't be measured by the amount of toilets but actually by wait times, and something that could alleviate this... Sorry about the pun, that was terrible. I'm sorry. Is the introduction of gender neutral toilets.
Well, anything to get through. At the end of the day, people are there to watch the sport. They're not there to stand in a queue waiting for the toilet, are they?
If I was to miss a wicket because I was waiting for the bathroom...
It's bad enough waiting for hot chips, but waiting to go to the bathroom... I mean, not that I have hot chips, but...
Only on the off season.
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
Sophie?
off season.
Only
off
on
days.
the off season.
Yeah.
We are going to talk about mental illness very shortly in sport, but something that I wanted to touch on briefly: Football Ferns' Jasmine Pereira has walked away from the team at age 20 because she was put under stress and unhappiness because she couldn't survive financially. So she's an international representative for New Zealand, and yet she couldn't afford to do it. She was working numerous jobs, and she was worried where her money for food and gas was coming from. Are you making enough money to make ends meet and still play for your country, Sophie?
Yeah, look, I'm really lucky, and that's where New Zealand cricket have been fantastic in terms of the support they've given us, that we're not, I guess, at that stage. And it's so sad to hear that. I mean, you never want to be giving up the chance to represent your country because you don't know
afford it.
You can't afford it. You can't survive. You can't pay for food and pay for gas. So, look, I think that it's devastating to hear a fellow athlete having to pull the pin, and so young as well, 20. I mean, that's just unbelievable.
Well, you're not even in your prime yet
at
that age.
Exactly. So I think it's a real shame, but, these things are going to keep happening unless that pay parity happens across all sports.
She told Trackside Radio that one of the biggest things, I'm quoting her here, that biggest things that we talked about before I left was the necessities like maybe gas vouchers, trying to figure out how we can either get sponsored if they don't have the money, or create ways to help girls have those necessities like food and gas.
At the end of the day, everyone needs food, everyone needs to be fed, everyone needs to be roof over their head, transport to where they need to go. So, yeah, look, it's just really sad.
She was put, this really affected her mental well-being to the point where she quit. And that is terrible, absolutely terrible. And someone that can talk to us about mental health in sport is Ruby Tui, international Black Ferns Sevens player. 1 in 5 New Zealanders battle with some form of mental illness, from stress and anxiety to depression. There has been this she'll be right attitude in the past, but now New Zealand Rugby has launched a campaign called Headfirst around talking about the black dog. And Ruby is on the line. She's actually just finished training with the team. Hi Ruby, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us today.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me on the show. How are you guys?
Fantastic.
Good,
now,
thanks.
tell us, how did you get involved with this campaign?
Yeah, so, mental health's not talked about much, especially in the rugby environment. I was just approached by the NZAU, our team was, because you can't just say, it affects the men and they don't talk about it, it affects women just as much. So we were approached to the team, a couple of us got put forward, and then I was just the lucky guy who got to talk about it for 3 hours. The
lucky woman who gets to talk about it. Let's talk about this whole notion of rugby. Rugby is a traditional masculine sport that's attached to traditional masculine ideals. We don't talk about our feelings. We're tough, we're strong. But what's your view on that?
Yeah, totally. I mean, especially as a women's player, we're battling that every day, but I see it as, we're actually, it's a really hard training sport, and we're in the gym all these hours. It's not just time we're putting into this, it's blood, sweat, tears. So we're dealing with that kind of stereotype as well. And I think you could say, especially Richard McCaw, I don't know if you've seen his latest movie, he talks about that men don't talk about it, but the key to them winning the last 2 World Cups was actually going into the psyche and all the things that are involved with it. And I think if you just say we don't talk about it, that's just a bit of a cop-out, moving forward in the times, especially, the women's sevens, we're a full-time contracted professional team now. We need to be moving with the times and saving lives, which is talking about this issue.
Absolutely. What are some of the challenges that you've faced on field that's affected your mental well-being?
Yes, so, the Olympics, watching it as a kid, it was a great thing, but for a long time there, about 18 months, you said it, and it just created a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, anxiety within our team, and it's really important that you create an environment, I think, where it's not all about the pressure, it's not all focused on the winning. You really need to create a culture where it's about the process, it's about having courage on the field, so you can avoid the stress and the mental pressures that come with that.
Yeah, the Olympics last year. Do we even want to go there? It was let's face it, it was heartbreaking. And the team, when that whistle went and they received the silver medal, a lot of them dropped their knees. They were upset about what had happened. You guys came so close. It must have been devastating.
Zoe, I tell you, the minute that whistle blew, it was absolutely heartbreaking, and it was, an experience I'll never forget. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was also one of the greatest things. And I think the biggest thing you can take out of a loss is learning. I mean, how much do you learn from winning, and how much do you learn from losing? I think we learn a hell of a lot. Our culture, and our entire management changed after that game. Our entire culture changed after that game. We had a big look at ourselves, and I think we wouldn't have done that if we didn't lose, So you can only take positive things out of such a huge event in a sporting career.
So if people want to find out more about Headfirst, where do they need to go?
Yeah, awesome. So I'd just like to say, always keep an eye on your mates. If they're ever acting out of character, acting down, not just in a footy team, but, just your mates every day. But we do have resources. The NZOU has set up the Headfirst website, which is really simple, www.headfirst.co.nz. And, there's in sporting environments, there's always management there and teammates, and I just say your biggest resource is just talking to someone, just sharing that load. A problem shares, a problem halves. That's what they say, and I think it's really accurate, especially in these days and times. Everyone's texting, there's so many methods of communication, so just talk to your mate.
You said that there was a massive change in your team. You guys you've just finished training for the day. You're actually doing quite well this year. Are you happy with the results that the team have had?
3 out of 4 wins out of in the World Series so far, and the one we didn't win, we came third, and we beat Aussie in Aussie after the Olympics, which we talk about. So I'm over the moon. I think this has been a dream season. We do have a huge challenge coming up. We've about 8 or so girls are heading over to the 15s New Zealand team for the Women's World Cup, 15s World Cup this year. So we have a huge opportunity for our younger players to step up, which I think will put us in good stead for the Com Games next year. So, it never stops. The challenges never stop. The learning never stops. But I'm very, very thankful to, do what I love for a job now. So, yeah, good season.
Fantastic. And where are you off to next?
We're currently in camp, flying over to Canada this weekend.
How about that?
3 months on. It's wicked. And then a couple of weeks after that, we're going to France. So, extremely lucky in 2012, 13, we didn't go to half the places we do, and we weren't paid for it. We're all working and studying, so it's beyond belief, the growth, and that's part of the New Zealand public supporting women's rugby as well, and we're actually pretty good at it.
I think you're more than pretty good at it. You're more than pretty good at it. Oh, well, thank you so much, Ruby Tui, for your time. We wish you all the very best in Canada, and then in France, I'm sure you will absolutely wipe the field with the opposition.
Yeah, Hada, and thanks to you guys for getting the message out there about the concussion, the Headfirst. That's a really important message. And Sophie, are you still playing cricket?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sophie's off to the World Cup soon.
Yeah, exactly. We always watch you guys. You're an extremely successful sport as well, and we appreciate that and support you as well.
Oh, awesome. We might have to have a game of rugby at some stage, or maybe cricket might be a bit better for us.
How about touch rugby so that no one gets injured? How about that?
I'm happy with touch.
Yeah, because we can't have anyone getting injured, right? Okay.
Yeah, deal.
Ruby Tui.
Cricket.
Oh, yeah, it's on.
Yeah, one hand, one bounce, right? That's the rule.
Yeah, it's still the rules.
It's still the rules. Yeah, it's over the fence, 6 and out.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Ruby Tui. Sevens player, talking about Headfirst and mental illness in sport. I just want to ask about cricket and mental illness in cricket. The rate of suicide is quite phenomenal in cricket.
Yeah, look, it's a massive issue in cricket. I know, especially over in the England scene, I've heard and read a lot about it. They're obviously pushing a lot forward with with that mental well-being space. I've read a couple of books, Marcus Trescothick, Jonathan Trott a couple of years ago as well, having to return home from tours because of, I guess, mental illness and things like that. So it is, again, I think something like this Headfirst project would be fantastic in the cricket environment, speaking about it, getting it out in the public. Just because we're athletes doesn't mean we're immune to these sort of similar pressures that you see in work and normal everyday life.
How do you alleviate those pressures? I was having a conversation last week with a musician about, for him, and we're finding that for creative people, we go out and we sing and we write music and we paint and we dance and we draw. And what about for sports people?
Yeah, I think like Ruby said, it is really hard. The culture is that you just get on with it. You just deal with it. You don't worry about, you don't talk about your feelings, your emotions, and you just get on with it. So I think, just as she said, sharing it is a massive part. I mean, we're really lucky that we've got a mental skills trainer that is with us, and, you know, I think 90% of the time it's talking about other things other than cricket. So, yeah, look, I think it's a massive part to share the load. I think talking is so important, and not being ashamed, not being embarrassed, not being scared of that judgment, because I think at the end of the day, if it's going to help you perform on the field, then you do what you have to off it.
Absolutely. Now let's change direction a little bit. Lisa Carrington has gone from K1 200 and she's now joined the teams event at the World Cup Series in Europe this month. They're over in Portugal at the moment. Obviously, she won the K1 200 Olympic golds 2012, 2016. And there's an 8-strong female canoe team that's in Portugal at the moment. She's going from an individual environment to a team environment, and cricket is an individual team sport. I know that kind of sounds a bit strange, but it is.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So how, and also you have long form and short form, so how do you get around changing your environment and dealing with that?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think definitely the last couple of years we've had to adapt very quickly. Literally, we could be playing the longer format, 50 overs one day, and then the next day we're playing 20-20, and it is quite different technique and all sorts of strategy, how you go about it. And I mean, it'd be interesting to talk to Lisa about that in terms of changing the boats, working with other people. I mean, I'm sure there's things like the rhythm and, you know, the stroke and things like that you've got to think about, which you don't think about when you're on your own. Same with cricket. When you're out bowling, it's just you. You don't really have to worry about anyone else. So, look, it'll be intriguing to see how she goes. I mean, she's such a fantastic athlete that I'm sure she'll do well, whatever boat she's in. Yes,
it starts this week, May the 19th, and then they'll return home in June before heading off to the Czech Republic in August for the World Champs. So that will be an interesting one. I'm hoping that we can catch up with Lisa when she's back in the country. I just wanted to also mention, before we head off, we've got to say the WNBA has now become fantasy sport, which is very cool.
That's awesome. I just
want to say that how fantastic that is. 21 years since they launched, and this is a great opportunity to allow fans to connect with their favourite players and also to expose women's basketball to different types of people who engage with sport in different ways.
I think it's massive. I know a lot of my work that I do with Crick HQ, they're looking at the fantasy league, fantasy world, and it is massive, absolutely huge. So I think the fact now that WNBA is part of that is only going to be better.
Yeah, I mean, it can't be long until we have our own fantasy women's cricket league, maybe.
Absolutely.
You'd be the captain of my team, Sophie.
Thanks, eh?
And we also have to mention netball, the Pulse, which is our other co-host Katrina Grant's team, carving it up. They're currently second on the standings. They absolutely wiped the floor with the Canterbury Tactics last night. We wish you all the very best. Now, the website wisport.com has just had a makeover as well, so it's easier than ever to find conversations. We've got more than 60 sports, our favourites cricket, if you haven't guessed it, including more than 600 podcasts, including this one, and they come from all around the world with lots of different views and opinions from everyone from journalists to elite athletes. We cover all sorts of different sports, from Ironman to netball to cricket to sailing, you name it, it's there. We've got videos, articles and blogs, and that's it.
Oh, what a show.
What a show.
Oh, awesome.
We're not going to see you for a few months. I wish you all the very best. Bring back that silverware.
Yeah, no pressure, but no, look, it's going to be awesome.
I just want to say thanks to Laura behind the glass, who produces this podcast. We'll be back next month. You can follow us on Twitter at WiSP Sports, at producer_Zoe, and you can also follow Sophie at Sophie Devine 77, and of course the White Ferns. You can follow them on Twitter as well. Until next time, bye for now.